right, this is FRQ 278, no calculator. We're given a function f of x is ln of x for x greater than 0. Obviously it can't be 0, but it's not negatives either because of the ln, right? And it gives you the derivative, which you could have done yourselves, but they gave it to you. So that's nice. So the first thing says, write an equation for the line tangent to the graph at x equals e squared. So this is just kind of seeing, do you know ln's and e's? To me, this is a way to ask. So when they want the equation for the tangent line, we need the slope and we need the point. Okay, and the slope is going to be f prime at e squared, right? And the point is going to be e squared something. So we are going to go figure out let's look for the point first. So to get the y, you just would put that back up into f of x, right? So this would be f of e squared, which is equal to ln of e squared over e squared, which is 2 over e squared. So now we have this point. So we have e squared and 2 over e squared. So now we need the slope, which is f prime at e squared. So we would put e squared into that. That's 1 minus ln of e squared over e squared squared, which is equal to 1 minus 2 over e to the fourth, which is negative 1 over e to the fourth. So there's my slope. So my equation would be y minus 2 over e squared equals negative 1 over e to the fourth x minus e squared. Now, just leave it like that, okay? No, don't try to simplify or do anything like that because you might get it wrong. So we're going to leave it like that. All right? Part B says, find the x coordinate, so that's nice, of the critical point of f. Determine whether this point is a minimum or maximum or neither, and then justify it. Well, we're given the derivative already, and how do you find the critical point? Set the derivative equal to 0, right? So, for B, we're going to say f prime of x equals 0. Always do that before you start working out, because this is showing what you know. So then, we now take the function. 1 minus ln of x over x squared equals 0. So 1 minus ln x equals 0. So ln x equals 1. So that would be e to the 1 equals x when we solve for x. So x is e to the 1. So the x coordinate is e. So the x coordinate of the critical point of f is x equals e. Is this a relative minimum, a relative max? And justify your answer. Well, I'm going to do a sign chart with e in it. And you know what e is, right? It's like 2.7. So let's see. So let's pick, and it's only greater than 0, not including 0. So let's pick 1. Put it up here into the derivative, right? And we say 1 minus, if you want to try it, try 1 minus ln of 1 over 1. So that's 1 minus 0 over 1, so that is going to be positive. Now, if you say you're going to try, I don't know, 10. Okay, so then you would say 1 minus ln of 10. And you know what ln looks like. So if we're at 10, we're way positive, right? Over 10. And over what? over 10. So this is 1 minus a big number over 10. So this is going to be negative. All right, so that's not your answer, remember. The sign chart is not your answer. You have to say what the sign chart tells you. And the sign chart tells us that the derivative changes from positive to negative. So it is a maximum. This point is a maximum because f prime of x changes from positive to negative at this point. Okay, so that was B. Part C says the graph of the function has exactly 1 point of inflection. Find the x-coordinate of this point. Well, so you actually have to, take the derivative if you want to find the point of inflection. So they want you to take the derivative of the first derivative. So C, f prime prime of x would equal, let's split it up. We're going to write this as 1, or we do the quotient rule. That might be easier. Let's just do the quotient rule. 1, the derivative of 1, we'll take the derivative first, which is 0 minus 1 over x. So 0 minus 1 over x times x squared minus 1 minus ln of x times 2x all over x squared squared. Some of you have forgotten the quotient rule, so this is good practice. So if we multiply this negative 1 over x times x squared, I get a negative x minus 2x plus 2x ln x over x to the 4th. And I'm going to simplify that to, do it all out. Let's see. Or just leave it like that. Doesn't really matter, does it? And we're going to set that equal to 0. And so, let's see. This would be, well, it does. Let's work it out. It's negative 3x plus 2x ln x. Is it 2 x ln x over x to the 4th? And so that, divide each thing by x to the 4th, I get negative 3 plus 2 ln x over x cubed. And I set that equal to 0. And now we're rocking and rolling. So negative 3 equals, positive 3 equals 2 ln x when I try to solve this. So ln x equals 3/2. So x equals e to the 3/2. So it says the graph has exactly 1 point for the x, find the x coordinate. So you can just say x equals e to the 3/2. Doesn't ask you to explain why or how or anything. So that's just you taking the second derivative. Okay, and we have one more part. Okay, part D says find the limit of f of x. Okay, so D, the limit as x goes to 0 plus of f of x is equal to the limit as x goes to 0 from the right, of ln x over x. And x is greater than 0. So wait a minute, x is greater than 0. Okay, well, what do we have at 0? Don't we have an asymptote? And if it's approaching, we know it's approaching 0, right? We know it has an asymptote. And we know that, just like pick, what ln's do you know? You don't really know any, but you know ln looks like this, right? So if you just divide it by something, it would just still be like that. So what is it doing? It's approaching negative infinity. So you could write negative infinity or dne. Either one will give you it. All right, let's go back through the points. So part A, let's see. You get 2 points for part A. And you get a point for f of e to the 2 and f prime of e to the 2. So f prime of e to the 2, we got this. So you get plus 1 for the slope, and you get 1, well, for those two answers, 2 over e squared and negative 1 over e, that gives you 1 point each. I mean, not each, 1 point altogether. So probably like a half and a half if you didn't get them right. And then 1 point for the answer. So that was 2 for that. Part B is worth 3 points total. You get a point for saying x equals e. You get a point for saying that that was a maximum. And the reason is because it changes from positive to negative is another. So those are your 3 points for that, part B. Part C is worth 3 points too. All right, so you got 2 points for having finding f prime prime of x. So plus 1 if you did that right. And then you get plus 1, you get 2 points for that derivative. Okay, and they don't split it up at all, so it's actually liking it all the way down here to this one. But technically, I think you get both points if you have it just there. And then you get 1 point for saying e to the 3/2. Okay, and so does C have justify your answer? No, but you know, we should have probably put, it doesn't say, but we should have put because it changes from positive to negative at that point. Because it changes sign. You don't even have to test it, just say it changes sign. So inflection point at x equals e to the 3/2 because f prime prime of x changes sign at this point. So probably good to give that reason. All right, so part D has 1 point, and that's just the answer. Negative infinity or D and E, either one have worked. So that's 1, 3, that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So those are your total points for this FRQ.